the right number, the one for this area.
Okay.
And so what we've seen from Richard Lee, who has been a surrogate operator, he's helped clean up the neighborhood, he's organized neighborhood beautification efforts and community cleanup, he's helped build relationships with the other local small businesses and the school.
Well, no, not our school.
The
Lighthouse.
Right. And
Theater.
he's built relationships with other institutions and neighbors in the community. And so again, I don't know what crime they're claiming he's committed that warrants this type of response, but I do know that his involvement in Oakland has been overwhelmingly positive, and that he's been a responsible local community participant who's been involved in neighborhood strengthening, who's been involved in neighborhood beautification efforts, who's helped to fight crime. And so obviously, I can't comment on the charge, not knowing what the charge is, but he's been an exemplary community member from everything we've seen so far. And I think the real important question, though, from Oakland's perspective, is how we fight violent crime. If we have extra law enforcement resources available to spend extra time, we need them to be out fighting illegal guns. We have a crisis of armed robbery. We have small restaurant owners who have been shot and robbed, and we struggle in this economy to find the resources to have enough law enforcement to go after the illegal guns, to go after the murderers, to go after people who are committing armed robbery. And so I would ask that if any enforcement office has extra officials to spend, we really need them to be going after violent crime, to be going after gun dealers, and to be going after people who are committing armed robbery. And that's what it would take to keep the community safe.
Thank you.
I'm concerned for all the victims of the violent crime right now while the cops are down here guarding a school. I mean, that's what's offensive to me for my tax dollars.
Yeah.
So I must have been, but you're saying, so I assume that Oakland officials such as yourself haven't been briefed by the feds on this, right?
No, we have not.
And so your overall, your just first reaction by hearing about the raid,
Yes, so we did not get briefed about it. Oakland was not involved in this decision. And so obviously we're concerned whenever anything is happening in our city, but particularly given the public crisis of gun crime and illegal gun dealers. And illegal gun dealers cross state lines, they cross city lines. Gun dealing is a deadly crime that is causing death throughout Oakland. And that's the type of thing that we need enforcement help with, particularly since illegal guns do usually cross state lines and cross city lines, so it's hard for a city to solve it by itself. And so when there are extra law enforcement resources available, they really should be devoted to fighting violence and to fighting illegal guns.
Right on.
Councilmember, how do you feel this is an attack on the city and what it's tried to do to make the industry regulated and legitimate?
Well, again, we don't know what the charges are yet, so I don't know whether or not there's some charge that they are
Rebecca
claiming.
Kaplan.
However,
Oakland
what
City
we
Council.
do know is that Oakland's history of regulating cannabis facilities with strict regulations, with background checks, with zoning rules, with rules about what hours they can operate and how they can operate, has been a success. We have not had crime or violence associated with our dispensaries, and that's because they are tightly regulated and people have to go through background checks and tests to get a permit. And so we have not had the problems that other cities have had that haven't had that type of regulation. And let me be clear, there have been dispensaries in other cities that have caused problems, where there aren't as tight regulations. And so cities like Los Angeles and San Diego have been asking for help to shut down problem dispensaries who were operating without a permit. So maybe the feds can go help those cities that want to shut down those facilities that were operating outside the permit system. The fundamental problem here, of course, is a question of democracy. The voters of California adopted Prop 215 over a decade ago. It is the law of this state. Different cities have grappled with it in different ways. Washington, D.C. is now issuing permits locally. Sacramento, Richmond within California are taking further steps to regulate. And the cities that have not had a regulatory system have had problems. And so if there are enforcement officials who what they do is shut down dispensaries, I would recommend that they work with those cities that are having problems with specific dispensaries to target the ones that actually are causing trouble for the community rather than the ones that aren't.
What do you want to hear from the federal government? What do you want to know to explain what they're doing?
The question was, what do we need to hear from the federal government? Well, frankly, as a representative of the people of Oakland, my constituents' top priority is to be fighting gun violence and stopping gun crime. And that is by far the most important law enforcement issue that my constituents continually bring up. How can we get more resources to go after illegal gun dealers? How can we fight gun crime? We know that we're in a time of economic struggle. There aren't unlimited resources. And so to me and to my constituents, the top question is, if there aren't enough resources to do all of what we need to do, how do we make sure those resources are going to fight violence, going to fight illegal gun dealing, and going to actions that will make the community safer?
This is a social justice issue, and voters cannot be punished for their verdicts. When this goes to court, we have to remember this. Jurors cannot be punished for their verdicts.
Is there any reason to believe that there is any illegal activity going on at these places? At Oaksterdam or the other places?
Like I said, I haven't heard the charges. I know in other cities, local officials have had a specific dispensary with whom they have had problems. We have not received any complaints like that in terms of any sort of violence or other illegal activity. But of course, I haven't seen what the charges are, so we will be interested to find that out. But in terms of what the people of Oakland have been saying to me and continue to say publicly, we need all possible law enforcement resources to be focusing on gun crime and working to stop the violence.
Oaksterdam has been founded
Thank you.
Councilmember Kaplan,
You know that
right?
the cops pushed the woman off the sidewalk?
State and federal law, how to follow state and federal law. We're trying to teach people quality training in the cannabis industry, how to do the right
Jason.
thing.
Can you talk about the economic impact if the dispensary has to shut down?
Trying to bring it under regulation. We're not the first. This is a long line of attacking the people that are trying to be regulated.
Just talking to one of the people from Americans for Safe Access, who's trying to figure out why this is happening.
All right. That was Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan, City Council of Oakland, talking about, what the Oakland City constituents want, and it's more effort on gun violence, less on cannabis.